Hey, everybody. Welcome to another edition of Cool Companies You Should Know, brought to you by Career Club. I'm Bob Goodwin, president at Career Club. If you're not familiar with Career Club, please check us out at career.club, where we're using proven sales methods and tools to help people find a career that matters to them. This is a live event, which is fun. So please let us know where you might be calling in from. Obviously, if you've got questions or comments, we would love to take those as we can. And then I also want to thank my two colleagues, Heather Zinzer and Joey Pace, who are the magic of making an episode like this happen. So guys, thank you so much. Also, lastly, would love to encourage you guys to follow Career Club on LinkedIn. We're posting content all the time. We're doing cool events like we're getting ready to do here in a minute. We're doing posts, things like that. And then I'd also encourage you to follow me, and please feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn. Would love to have that relationship with you. So without further ado, let me introduce our guest today, the CEO and co-founder of Social Standards, Devin Bergman. Devin, welcome.
Hey, Bob. Thanks for having me. Hey, everyone.
Awesome. Hey, so where are you calling in from today, Devin? Where are you?
I'm in New York. I'm downtown in the Tribeca area of New York City.
Awesome.
Yeah,
Very
we just
cool.
moved here recently. We've been here 2 years. Before that, Bay Area, San Francisco for 15, 20 years before that. But loving it so far in New York. It's been
New
amazing
York's
living
a ton
here.
of fun. I worked there for 5 years. New York is very singular. It's a unique place. So very cool.
Much.
So one of the things that we like to do is just a little bit of an icebreaker that we call Rocks Fab Five to help people get to know you a little bit, which is always fun.
Okay.
So we're already kind of doing the geography thing, but where were you born and raised, Devin?
Yeah, so I was born in Philadelphia, Northeast Philadelphia. Lived there through, till I was about middle school age, and we moved to South Jersey, so the burbs of Philadelphia. That's where I went to high school. And then, so Philadelphia, South Jersey area is where I was kind of born and raised.
Awesome. And then where'd you go to school?
So college, I went to University of Miami, not to be confused with Miami University in Ohio. I'm the U of Miami.
Which is just a few miles from my house, but yes.
Yeah, so Florida,
U.
Miami. Yeah, the U. Great year. I mean, I was there 99 till 03. Football team won championships. It was like, man, what a place to be and a time to be there. It was great.
No, that's super cool. And then just a little bit, Devin, about your family.
Yeah, so I have so my parents are still with us. So they're we're just relocating to Florida. My sister in California, we all grew up together with, and then my wife and my wife I met in University of Miami.
Awesome.
So we're both UM alumni. And he just turned, there's balloons literally sitting right here. He just turned 11. We have an 11-year-old son.
Oh, happy birthday.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Very cool.
That's great.
And then, and yours is really interesting. Just to share a little bit with folks about your career arc and how you ended up at Social Standards.
Yeah. So, it's funny. I'm a musician, if you can't tell by all the music gear behind me, the long hair, the tattoos. But I was always in the music and audio. The joke is I wanted to be a drummer, and my dad said, you can be a drummer, but you're going to get a job on a cruise ship probably, or you can get an engineering degree and, have something to fall back on. And luckily I listened to him. So I went to University of Miami for audio engineering. So it was an electrical engineering background, but it's really focused on audio. So all the math and science and engineering, but really teaching you how to build the instruments and the technologies. I really got into digital audio and speech processing, and it's just like college, right? You never know what you're going to really fall in love with until you're there. And so I started my career at Dolby. So I got recruited out of my master's program from UM to Dolby Laboratories. That's what brought me to San Francisco. I was a sales engineer, like a customer experience, customer success person. I was the youngest person in the company. I was 21 years old. Pre-IPO. It was unbelievable time to be there. And there was just a lot of opportunities of being a company. It's such a big brand, but it was such a small company, family owned. And when Ray Dolby took it public, and we all did very well, reasonably for, our age and experience at the company. But I was there. I ended up running the PC computer division for the product team there. Grew it to like an amazing $270 million of revenue. We had a 3-person team. It was such a great ride and experience. Yeah, being there and just being so young and being able to do so much. And it gave me the entrepreneurial bug, is what I like to say. But I was more of an intrapreneur, right? Working for a company. And so I decided to move on from there after about 7 years to Grace Notes, which just got acquired by Nielsen. When I was there, it had just been purchased from the founders that were still there when I was there to Sony. And I came in to run the home entertainment and video business for them because I was really getting into metadata and really kind of the really complexities around data. And I met my co-founder now, Vladimir Bogdanov. So that's where I met Vlad. Vlad and I rebuilt like all the video stuff for them. I was there for 2 years. It was a quick tenure, but that's when I decided it's time to go and do my own company. And that was what eventually became Social Standards.
That is really, really cool. And I like so much of what you're talking about. Like college, you start to figure out what you like, right? And you got really deep into it. And then, you hit the Dolby wave. Sounds like it's just the right time. And,
yeah,
we kind of learn by doing a lot, right? And you start getting into things like, hey, I'm actually kind of good at this. I actually like this. And I think married with your music passion, that makes a lot of sense.
What I like to say is, I'll be just really honest with you, Bob. I was very arrogant when I was at Dolby and Grace Note. I was 20-something years old, running this huge portion of the business, crushing it. It wasn't until I became an entrepreneur, because I was like, oh, I can do what Zuckerberg does. All these guys, all these people just doing these startups. Why can't I? I'm in the Bay Area. Man, I tell you, you start a startup and it's the most humbling. It's like the gravitational pull that pulls you down to earth and gets you out of the clouds of, it is not what you see in the papers and you see all the success stories of these celebrity entrepreneurs. It is brutal and it's humbling because you think, oh, I could do this, I could do that. But when you're doing it for somebody else with all the protections of another company and all the it really changed who I was as a human being, not even just, from a founder and a career path, but just as a human. It just humbled me tremendously.
Devin, I talk about the entrepreneur's cocktail that I've drunk heavily from, which is equal parts naivete and hubris.
Totally. That's perfect. It's so perfect.
It's true, isn't it? Like, it's like, this is amazing. Of course, everybody wants this. Like, why wouldn't you? And then you're like, yeah, it doesn't really kind of work that way.
Oh man, because the failures are more important, and it's so true. It's so cliche to say, but I've learned more from failing than I ever have from being successful, and that's just part of the game. And if you accept that, it's that's that. I think it's 90% of it.
A good friend of mine, and I think he borrowed this quote I heard it from him the first time, and he says, "Good judgment comes from experience, and experience comes from bad judgment."
Yeah.
You got to mess it up some. That's why people talk about scar tissue and gray hair and the whole thing. It's like you got to mess it up some.
And that goes for everything, not just companies. That goes for relationships. That goes for everything you do. In
All right, so we're killing the icebreaker part. Last question, but I think you kind of touched on it. But I'm curious if there's something else. Usually we would ask, like, what are your passions? What do we find you doing when you're not at work? Clearly, music is one of them.
Yeah, I wish more. Like all of our hobbies. I used to have a studio in the house. So in Oakland, California, we lived up in the hills, and I converted a floor to like a recording studio and drum set, all this stuff. And I moved it up Midtown, but I just don't find myself going nearly as much as I really should be. It's my one major outlet, but really it's recording, it's drumming, it's learning and trying to figure out if I can figure out how to play the piano and the organ. I have a 1959 Hammond B3 that I've been playing around with in the studio. Yeah, man, it's killer. It's soul. That is just straight up funk rock, church, bring me to church music. I just love that.
Do you know Fitz and the Tantrums?
I don't. I'm taking a note though.
Because they started with a Hammond organ. That's what they inherited. Hammond organ, and that is core to their sort of soul gospel, but it's still kind of funk. Kind of sound. I think you like. Yeah. So tell people. Okay, I've never done this one before. Tell people 1, 2, 3 bands that they don't know that they should go check out.
Oh man, here we go. My favorite band of all time. I'm actually helping him as in his nonprofit. It's unbelievable. It's a whole other story for a whole nother little webinar. We can talk about that one. But his name's Alan Evans, His band, the band that I fell in love with of his was Soulive, Soulive. It
Okay.
is soul, funk, Hammond organ, drums, guitar trio. Man, they rock. And everything Alan's done outside of that, he produces, records. Just what a great band. So that's one for sure. Two other favorite brands. One's Galactic. Probably maybe some of you guys would know Stanton Morris, the drummer there. It's it's a New Orleans funk band. Soulive,
Oh, there you
Galactic.
go. Look at Nicole, the bassist from Fat.
Yes.
That's awesome.
Yes. Love it. So I mean, there's two off right off the bat that I would.
Who would you pay $5,000 to go see?
Oh man. Living or do they have to be living, or can I go back?
You can go
Miles
back.
Davis, man. If I could go back and see
Yeah.
anyone, it'd be Miles. Man, I've seen a lot of those cats like Chick Corea
Oh,
live multiple times. Herbie Hancock. I've just been going down the list of all my favorite jazz legends. But man, to go back and see Miles play, man, that there's not a price I could put on it. Like people want to go to space. No, I want to go back and watch Miles. Like that's all I do.
That's cool. All right. So let's get on with it. So
Yeah.
you had talked about Grace Notes, where you started kind of falling in love with metadata, and you met Vlad and everything. Tell people kind of, first of all, just what is social standards, and then we'll kind of bridge into what's the gap that you guys saw in the market, and how do you uniquely address it?
Yeah. Well, Social Standards is a cool company you should know about.
Amen.
Social Standards, it's really a consumer analytics company. It's a consumer insights, intelligence. We call it consumer forecasting. So what do I mean by that? It's really making kind of like the largest panel of consumers that exists, but it's in an authentic, organic, totally objective way. So what we do is, if you think about social, and everyone's talking on social constantly, they're telling you what they're buying, what they're eating, what they're seeing, what they're listening to, what they're wearing, what they should be wearing, what they should be eating. Like people have opinions, and they're talking about their moments of consumption, their moments of perception from the news. They're going into Reddit and talking about deep, whether it's political or which vacuum filters are best for my, replacement for my vacuum cleaner. It's all there. And what was in the market to date was panel data coming from sales. So people with a scan gun or automatic from emails, like the Numerators, the Nielsen's, the IRIs, the Kantars, right? And they're all consolidating. They all do a very similar thing where they get access to sales data, and then they build panels that scan what they're purchasing, and then they basically use that as a statistical viable set of data to be able to go learn about what's happening in the market. And every company needs to buy that data. They all need to understand what's happening with their competitors, et cetera. The reason that works is because it's a syndicated data set, meaning it's built once and everyone can get access to it. And it's all the same. So if you're L'Oreal, you don't have to worry about getting Estae's data because it's all there integrated. Okay. What Social Standards is, we do exactly that concept, but we use hundreds of millions of public people talking in public posts on Instagram, Twitter, Reddit, live news, TikTok. So anything that's live and people are sharing, what we've done is we've coded this taxonomy of what human speech is. We've hired linguists, and these linguists code the fact that Jack Daniels is a Tennessee mash, which is like a bourbon, which is a whiskey, which is a right, and it's a sibling to rye, and then you have vodka, so we build out everything like a UPC code, but for social and the human lexicon. So if someone says martini, we know it either has gin or vodka with vermouth, like all of it's coded, everything.
Wow.
And then we basically sell this platform and services to the same customers that are using the panel data from sales, but now they can slice and dice the consumer lexicon so finely to build cohorts and understand what is the 25 to 29-year-old African-American female that's into yoga that lives in the Northeast, which ingredients and anti-aging beauty does she care about? And one click of a button, hundreds of millions of data points are just boom, right in front of you, where you can get exactly what you're trying to get to in a way that panel data just cannot slice nearly as thinly as when you have the universe of social.
So,
I'm not sure.
No, well, first of all, the whole thing just on syndicated, and you're right, and the way that you all have syndicated it around product hierarchies, which
Yeah.
is how client companies think about it. That's how they understand their world. But the other thing that I'd love for you to talk for a minute about is obviously looking at social data is not a new idea, and there's been
It's,
tools and platforms that sit on top of this ocean of information. So much of it's been around sentiment, as
yeah.
an example.
Yep.
Um, how are you guys? How would you describe how you're different or addressing different use cases than kind of the existing social tools that have been out there?
So it's a great question. There's a couple things. Sentiment is interesting, but it's not very useful. And let me explain why that is. Think about Instagram. 90% of Instagram is positive. I've never seen someone take a picture of their food on Instagram that they didn't like and share it, right? You don't put the picture where you're not perfectly posed. You don't do that. Instagram is it's very much positive. The things you love, the things you want to show in a good light. So when you talk about sentiment, there's not enough data in the negative side of things when you talk about social. Now, Twitter's the opposite. I don't see any positive stuff on Twitter. I'm joking, but it's much more of a negative platform where it's more moments of perception than it is consumption.
Mm.
And so when you think about positive, negative, even then, like what does it matter? What matters is what's co-occurring. Like what is the why and the how behind why you're doing something? Not are you feel good or bad about it. It's about why and how. And so by structuring and organizing everything, we're in a very unique position because no other social anything has that like UPC code. I use that in quotes because it's not technically UPC code, but it's that organization, the hierarchies of everything, the unknown unknowns. Because the current social tools, you have to know what to code for to even look it up. So how are you going to find what the next hard seltzer is? Or how would you have found hard seltzer to begin with? By the time you knew to look up hard seltzer, if you were an alcoholic beverage company, it was too late. They were already on the shelf because then you know about it. But when people are doing this at home and creating it, and then the first company goes out and builds it, like you're going to see that in social way before you're going to see it in sales. And so that's the main differentiation. So when we sell, we actually sell to the chief growth officers, the innovation arms, M&A teams. That's where we usually sit because they don't social data
Well,
tools.
actually, so Devin, that kind of anticipates my next question, which are some of the key use cases. So as somebody who's been selling to insights people, marketers for a pretty long time now, kind of it seems like the most common use cases around innovation, communication, and activation. So in store or, online or whatever.
Yeah.
Maybe you could just sort of expand on that a little bit of how people are using the data around one of those three things or something else.
Yeah. So it's funny. I was on a call with Estee Lauder's Jane Lauder's team. That's where we sit, and we were talking about panel data and social. And one of the I'm not going to name them by name, but like one of the people on her team was basically said, very senior exec said, like we're not even using panel data as much as we are using social because, to my point, social's so first, yes. Right? We see it earlier. We see it first. So what that means is you end up sitting in use cases that are first. Like innovation is a first thing, right? You innovate. It's the first it exists. M&A, understanding companies and what that brand's value is to the core. There's never been a way to truly understand consumer, like how a consumer values, consumer health, what is driving consumer retention and alignment to a brand. And we can actually see like this is the reason this brand has such a loyal following without doing surveys. That's the other aspect. We replace surveys all the time because we're instant versus having to do weeks of prep to then go find weeks of people or a bunch of people to then do weeks of analytics and then get back and find out you didn't answer the right question or you want to go deeper. You can't do that. So when you have, and that's what, 1,000 people, 2,000 people, we have hundreds of millions of people that you can go through the data and analyze in an objective way. It's like triple blind in a sense. There's no person like getting the question and leading the witness and getting some subjectivity in there. Yep. It's just watching, but doing it analytically. And so to answer your question, summarize it. It's innovation. It's category management. We're helping with M&A. And And then we're helping with just brands in general, like competition, understanding and comparing yourselves against your competition against all things consumer.
Yeah, actually, that's interesting. I hadn't thought about that on the competition side. This is the plus and the minus of living in a syndicated data world. Is when you're used to seeing syndicated data, and you're operating, say, like in a snacks category. You might say, well, meat snacks, and that's what I compete with is other meat snacks. But to the consumer, that's not true at all. There could be some things that you don't think are adjacent categories that consumers they might think a hard-boiled egg is an adjacent category to a meat snack, right? It's easy to consume. It's high protein, right? I'm done. So I might do, beef jerky, or I might eat a hard-boiled egg. Those are competitors.
You nailed it. I mean, that is, like hard seltzer, when hard seltzer came out, how many, you had beer, wine, and spirits. That's what you had. And now this new thing comes out, and it affected everyone. And nobody knew why. Nobody knew if it was going to be the next hard soda, like a new fad. But using our data, you could see the user retention of this thing and how much people were coming back and talking about it week on week or month on month. And then we could see it was tied to ketogenic lifestyles. And so now we can look at the trend of ketogenic and say, even if hard seltzer is moving like this, ketogenic's like this. And because of it's aligned to that trend, it's a seasonal thing maybe, but as long as ketogenic keeps rising, you're going to rise. And so it's just by looking at it this way, you get a slice of data. You'll never be able to compare. But then also, and then I created a hard seltzer. How do I compare my hard seltzer to them? I can look at store sales, but how do I know really who's consuming it and why they're consuming it and what the lifestyle differences are of us, so I can start eating into more of their market share and talking more like them, or separating from them and owning my space and letting them have theirs.
Well, and so I was talking about the communication use case, and I think that's such a key thing, is because you're hearing, I know this is not an original way of saying this, but the world's biggest focus group is in session 24/7. Yeah. And it's called social media. Totally. And so if you want to know the voice of your consumer and speak to them in the language that they're using, well, all you have to do is listen, but you need the right tools to be able to listen. One thing I wanted to ask you about is obviously CPGs would be using your data. Retailers, financial services, I think is one. I'd love for you to talk about how the street's using your all's data.
So CPG is the core of our business, right? I just put that out there. The Estée Lauders in the world, L'Oreal's, the Constellation Brands, et cetera. That's the core of our business. That said, because we are the only tool that can truly analyze kind of the consumer objectively, the street started using us. And so we now have relationships with Bank of America. Wells Fargo just signed last week, actually, with us. Barclays, Citigroup, all the major sell side analysts are using us to basically get a view of the consumer in regard to the brand. So they're actually able to start saying, okay, what trends are they aligning to? Similar to the way the CPG companies are doing it, but they're stepping back and looking at what's the big impact that this could have to the business. What if the ketogenic diet goes away? Every hard seltzer brand's at risk. So they're watching those trends, not just looking at sales. They're looking at the trends that the consumer's life is wrapping around and seeing the impacts of those, how they're having it. We're working on an ESG dashboard right now with one of the banks. And it's really being able to, what every public company CEO now has an ESG bonus tied to them about how well they're doing. But how do you measure that? How do you measure if the things you're doing are even the right things? The consumer tells you that, right? Yep. Of course, you got to figure out carbon emissions. We have a greater good that the CEOs have to do for these companies that consumers might not even understand. But wouldn't you want to know that the consumer doesn't understand it, so you can at least start educating them from the market, so you get the credit for the things you are doing? Or are there things you're not doing that you're missing, and the consumer's there to tell you? So we're creating this index. It's really an objective way of analyzing what's happening in the market.
And one thing is just with the street, because you initially said that you guys are, or you would classify it as being predictive, and the nature of the street is it's a forward-looking market, right? Telling me what already happened is of very little value to the street. That's already reflected in the share price. It's being able to anticipate and see around the corner in a way that the other guy isn't seeing around the corner yet.
Absolutely, and I don't like using the word predictive. I mean, I definitely see your point. When people say predictive, it's like nobody's predictive because there's so many social companies like, oh, we're predictive, and all these analytics companies, these startups that say we're predictive. I'm not predictive. I can forecast. Forecasting requires numbers. It requires data. It requires analytics. Predictive is a crystal ball. It doesn't exist. Like, you can't just predict. You can forecast intelligently off math, off analytics, off of objective data versus history versus future trend lines. That's what we do. And that's why we call it consumer forecasting. It's not consumer predicting, it's consumer forecasting, just like you would do financial forecasting, looking at the past and then projecting out into what's happening in the future. We're doing the same thing with what consumers are doing, but we're doing it in a real-time way that's so much faster and more forecastable, if you will, with this type of data set.
Yeah. So apologies for using the word predictive forecasting. No. So let's sort of transition the conversation here a little bit, because I know that part of the Cool Companies thing is people want to, and this has been great, Devin. I think you do such a great job of representing the company. People are always very interested in leadership style, values, culture, things like that. I wonder if maybe you could kind of transition off the product and maybe more onto the company and some of those things.
It's been a ride. I mean, we're learning as we go, like anything else. And I'm not going to sit here and pretend like we've had the perfect culture right out the gate and like everyone's just like, it's been the perfect company. We're young, we're the first time, CEOs and executives learning as we go. And the biggest thing about the culture that I like to preach is failure. I fail. People know I fail, right? I think we're going to go this way. Maybe I was wrong. Let's create this product. Maybe it was wrong, but we learn from it. And the next thing we do is smarter. The next thing. And so from a culture perspective, like, I want my people to fail, but fail fast, fail intelligently, and don't fail the same way again, right? Like, learn from that and expand upon it. So I mean, we've had our growing pains like any startup does. Our vision of the future was, our North Star was here. It really should have been here. And then we learn and pivot and adjust it. And it's constant. So it's the malleability, like the ability to be flexible and roll with it, but also give everything you have and just fail and learn and adjust as you go. And it's accountability. Like, it's accountable. Like, make yourself self-accountable that you have people are relying on each other. So it's a level of trust that we try to build in the organization. Every individual, like, we're not micromanagers. We never have, we never will. It's just a very much of, we try to hire the best people for the role that can really self-manage themselves as best they can. Yeah. We're here to educate, we're here to learn, but like, you have a responsibility. Do your job and do it well so everyone else can, take that and run with it because everyone's, connected. But it's really, that self-accountability, and don't be afraid to fail. So it's a really open place of working, if you will.
Yeah. So I believe that players like being in a self-accountable environment, right? Because they're not trying to hide, and they want to be around people who do what they say they're going to do to the best of their ability. On the failing bit, what'd you say? You said fail fast, don't make the same mistake twice. But what about failing transparently? Like I might have screwed it up a little bit. How do you let people fail and be okay with telling you, hey, Devin, I think I just screwed this thing up. But I wanted to come to you and tell you quickly. Yeah.
And it's by example too, right? It's, when someone has a failure, we're not like dragging them through the streets or, like putting, tying up the noose. It's really just, being open about like, we made a mistake. Let's fix it. We had an employee and I'm not going to obviously mention names, but like, they made such a major mistake in the database. They thought they were doing the right thing. They went down a rabbit hole and oh my God, the impact it had across the whole analytics platform. He learned from it. Never made the mistake again. And he helped us make a better system to catch those things in the future, which actually, I'm so glad it happened like 6 years ago, that if it happened now with the amount of dollars and users and peoples that we have relying on our platform, I'm so glad he made that mistake then, because that type of mistake could have been detrimental to our business. So you have to have mistakes. Mistakes are necessary to improve. So it's all about how you treat the mistake and how you treat the person that made the mistake. And you lead by example. We never like drag someone through the street. We don't fire people over mistakes. It's just a matter of making sure it's known that it was okay, and we move on.
Yeah. That is sort of the ultimate learning lab for sure with that kind of environment. With respect to when you're looking at either an existing employee or associate, or you're interviewing somebody, what are some of the cues that you're looking for? Maybe soft skills, traits, things like that catch your eye?
Honesty, right? Like don't puff your chest and act like, don't oversell yourself, right? Be transparent, be honest. I'm a very transparent person. I share way more than I probably should share, and hopefully my employees appreciate for me that. It's got me in trouble sometimes internally as well, right? It just, it's just the nature, and that's me learning to be a CEO. But it's really, I look for transparent people that are going to be self-accountable, that can speak to what they can bring to the table, but in a team effort. And it's a hard one to really find sometimes, and you kind of know it when you know it. This is where the art of hiring is not just a science, right? It's that blend between, you can't just look at a piece of paper and a resume. It's like you have to have the conversation, and you have to have multiple people having that conversation. Because listen, I've said no to some of the best employees we have when we voted, and I was wrong, and I'm so glad I was wrong, right? Because they're like some of the best employees we have, and it happens. That's why you have a panel of people that lean in and really kind of give their assessment. But I look for people that are hardworking, that also have lives outside of the company. I don't want someone that's just going to be 100% us, because they get burnt out. I don't want people that are going to get burnt out after a couple years. We try to work smarter, not harder. And I think that's just the phrase. But yeah, I don't know if that answers your question fully. I wish I had made it better.
No. I mean, I think what I'm hearing is, again, you said honesty, and not being overly, kind of, as you said, puffing their chest out and selling too hard and things like that. And I agree with you. I mean, at the end of the day, my colleague Heather likes to say, people hire people. Like, we don't hire resumes and stuff. Maybe that does kind of lead to one thing. And this is, we're probably kind of transitioning into some of the talent, as you guys continue to grow, that you might be looking for. Where do you kind of place like hard skills? Like I can see that you've done this exact thing someplace else, versus you have a ton of potential. You've got a lot of the right attributes. Basically, you're an athlete, but you may not have ever played linebacker or tight end. I can teach you the position, but I can't teach you to be tall, strong, and fast.
Yeah. That's a really hard one, and it's one that we actually are have been dealing with at times, and because we have phenomenal talent. Like this is the first time I look around the company, and we have the dream team now. It's like I just feel it. You can feel the energy, which is great. Is everyone ready to take the next step up in their career and just be promoted tomorrow? No, it takes time. And I would take it like, I can't teach everyone to be a linebacker because I'm clearly not a linebacker, right? But I have to find the people that can. And sometimes you have the next best linebacker, but you don't have the linebacker to teach them. So you actually have to go find a linebacker to play the starting role. Right? We're going to run with this analogy, so get ready, Bob. So you have the junior varsity team. You started, I'm just running with it. You have those like junior varsity people that they're going to be on the varsity team, but you have to bring that starter in first, that they can see what it really takes, because I can't do the job for you. And so that's our role. Our role is to make sure we manage expectations of the employees, to know that they are rock stars. But once they see what that next level is and what it takes to get there, and be groomed and mentored by these people. And that's the other thing I look for, Bob. Mentors, people that can mentor. You don't have to be a leader. You don't have to be a manager to be a leader. You don't have to be a manager to be a mentor, right? And so finding people that I have so many people in the company that are mentoring other divisions. They're not even in the same division, but they have the soft skills. They have that art that is really hard to teach sometimes, right? Like it's very important to us. And I think that's one of the hardest things I think we've been learning as a management team is, and as we go through this growth stage, is making sure we're setting up our existing employees for success while not keeping them from growth, right? And managing that path. Yeah.
That is a very hard balance, and particularly when you guys are being successful as you are and you're growing and you continue to need more talented people. How do you not overextend them to a place that they're not ready to go yet, right? While at the same time not, pushing people down who are ready to blossom and take on more responsibility.
It's so hard because you don't want to set them up to fail. We owe that to them just as much as we owe them the opportunity to progress. You don't want to offer them the opportunity to fail, or not the opportunity. You don't want to put them in a position where they're likely to fail.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a balance. Yeah, it's a hard one.
How big is the team right now?
So we're about 40 something people right now.
Okay.
Yeah, okay. So we're still smallish.
If you had to, good on you. You guys start off as 2, so
we're scrappy.
if you had to forecast over the next 3 years, how big do you see the team getting? Ish.
The company's doubling year on year. I mean, so we can do the math, right? But and we're doubling in all areas. So the revenue's doubling year on year. We are in growth stage, baby. Like it's exciting. It's an exciting time to be here. We fit that product market fits there. We have 7-figure clients. Like it's go time. So it's really an exciting time to join the company, and we're going to be scaling in all divisions. So next 3 years, we're going to double every year is what we kind of expect to see. Roughly, right? Obviously, there's things that won't be scaling linearly, but yeah.
Okay. So thinking about maybe some key roles or functional areas, levels of seniority. What would some priorities look like for you, particularly for people who are listening that like, wow, this is a cool company?
It is, if I may say so myself. The areas that we're really hiring for right now that we have open recs in, like right now, is in the sales team. We're scaling revenue quickly, and the sales team is where the right now immediate growth opportunities are. We are going to be hiring for marketing. We do not have a marketing team at all. So that's another area that we're going to be scaling up in the next probably quarter to 2. Cool. Is really start scaling out the marketing team, starting with more of the leadership and start building a team around the strategies, someone that really helps out strategies for us. Sales, BDRs as part of that, right? They'll be defined together between the sales and marketing lead. Yes. And then customer experience. So the customer experience team is going to be scaling. That scales right with the revenue. So you can imagine we try to scale that 6 months in advance. So as we keep doubling revenue, right? And it's not like we're not doubling in like step functions. It's a growth curve. So we're always hiring CX people to really help get in front and educate and learn the tools.
Yeah, because you do not want to be chasing that. You absolutely want to be ahead of it.
No, you don't. Yeah. But that's, it's more the front office. Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead,
with salespeople and marketers, would you be more interested in people that, have a SaaS kind of a background, or we talked about CPG. Maybe they know CPG really well. Where would you sort of, or maybe something else?
No, it's we've tried different things. You can imagine the people we find the most successful in the sales roles are people that have experience with panel data, sales data, consumer analytics. So, not to poach from companies, but if I had to name companies, it's people from like the Numerators, the IRIs, the Nielsen IQs. Kantars. So it's really that, the people that we're sitting on the same budget lines as, because they know how to sell into those budget lines. So that's really, and it's a similar product. It's just using different data source, but it's answering similar questions, arguably better.
Would that hold true for marketers as well? Or do you have maybe a different sense on the marketer?
That's a great question. I don't know yet. To be really honest with you, Bob, I don't know. And that's what that marketing roles are going to be the hardest roles I think we've had to. It'll be our biggest challenge yet, because we've never done it, and none of us are really truly marketers in the truest sense.
Yeah.
And we're product people, tech people, sales people, but finding an SVP or CMO is going to be it's going to be a challenge, which we're excited to do because it's the piece that we're really missing the most in the organization.
Yep. Do you mind sharing with people just a little bit? I'm not trying to give the answers to the test, but do you mind just walking them through a little bit of what the interview process looks like?
Oh yeah, of course. So we usually start with I'll use sales, for example, or any of the divisions. You usually start with the management of that group. So whether it's our COO, if you're the CX team, or, the head of sales, probably with your, salesperson, et cetera, as you'd expect, to the hiring manager. And then an HR interview that probably actually precedes that. So it's probably the head of HR would have the first interview, just get the, sense of what you're looking for, make sure we're aligned at the highest levels. Then it's the managing director, the manager of the role, hiring manager. And then we do a couple interviews with some of the team for that division. So you get to really focusing on the division first, and then we start layering on more of the management team. So we do it depends on the role, obviously, right? Because not every one of these roles has. But if we're talking more senior role, it definitely goes to the CTO, my co-founder Vlad. It goes to the COO. And then I'm usually the last person. I'm looking for culture. I trust my team, unless the CMO is likely reporting to me, so I'll be very heavily involved in that process. But for the typical hire, I'm usually the last person they speak to, and I'm really looking for just cultural fit and get to know the people and answer questions, because we have it down to a science to really hire for most of these other positions. So it's very much a team effort, and because we're small, each person gets a taste of the organization they're coming into, because it matters. It's not like you're going to be siloed with one division, even though we're very much remote. You're going to be working with all of us.
Well, actually, you brought up a great point. So you guys are very open to remote.
Oh my God, yes. And I can't tell you how proud I am of the team. And that's a whole nother webinar about surviving COVID and that transition. But yeah, we closed down the Oakland and headquartered office out there completely. It still is. We have an office here in New York, but we use it every couple of weeks. We go in to do some conversations on the front end of the front door of business. So the sales and customer experience teams come in there. I come in a little bit when they're there. They're really get together, talk about things, train each other in person, and then they go there. Yes. Everyone goes their separate ways. But yeah, we're very much remote first. Very much.
Yeah, that's great that you guys have a presence though that people can go to, because at some level you can't slack your way to greatness, right? And
I like that.
No, really, right? I mean, you need to get together and, hey, Joe, can you show me how to do this? I'm just stuck. Yeah, come here. And there's just something about being together.
And also the things you can't I like that slacking your way. The water cooler conversations. You can't measure that. It's so important just to have those moments of chatting about the HBO show the other day, but then it ends up going into something bigger, and it's important. And that I don't think anyone's figured that out remotely yet. Right. That's the thing. How do you?
Well, it's funny. So the largest HR organization in the world is known by their acronym SHRM, Society of Human Resources Management. And we interviewed the CEO of SHRM a couple of weeks ago. We'll be doing that one in September. But
cool.
That's what he was talking about. It's nobody knows. Everybody is still figuring this out. And Apple, trying to crack the whip, saying you're going to be in here 3 days a week. And people are like, yeah, maybe not. There's other places to go work. People are figuring it out, and flexibility is key. I think different personality types, different functional areas, just the nature of your business. There's so many factors that go into it. And just to have this sort of unilateral, mandate, you must do X, probably not the right idea. So I love hearing about this flexibility. You want to be there, that's cool. You don't want to be there, that's cool. As long as you get your work done, back to accountability.
Yeah. I'm waiting for the moment where the team demands they need an office, and we're gonna have to figure that out. That's what's likely is going to happen more than us saying everyone has to get back in the office. So we take a read every quarter on the team and get a sense of what their needs are and what their wants are and what's going to be the most productive for everyone. And this has been working really well for us.
So just kind of keeping my eye on the clock here just a little bit. Is there anything, Devin, that we haven't talked about, whether it's about company, culture, talent, anything?
I think we covered a good bit. Nothing comes to mind. No. I wish I had something right off the top of my head, but I think we covered a lot of stuff.
No, I really enjoyed it. I mean, between the syndicated nature of the data, the ability to help companies, to use your word, better forecast what's going to be happening and do it in a much more timely fashion, waiting for 8-week-old data, that ship's already sailed. So the breadth and the depth of the data that you guys have access to is amazing. I'm not surprised to learn that you're doubling on doubling on doubling. So good on you. But then the failing fast, don't fail twice, accountability, great qualities that I think, again, people that really want to succeed thrive in that environment. And other people, what does Warren Buffett say? When the tide goes out, you can see who hasn't been swimming with a bathing suit on or whatever.
Yeah.
So but that in a small company, it's like that all the time.
I'll tell you, Bob, like we had an intern. Let me tell you a little story. Like for anyone listening that's like, is social standards the type of company I like to want to work for? Intern, getting her undergrad, right? Barely like 21, I assume, right? And she did an internship. She came back the second year and she was doing, basic tasks here and there, but she just loved, her curiosity was so strong. She wanted to learn web development. We needed a web developer. We needed a front-end developer. We said, okay, we'll give you a shot, right? Paid her a modest salary to do basic and entry level. She crushed it. She learned on her own, was building products for us front-end development that we thought would take a huge team. And she got so good that we basically said, you could probably spread your wings farther, faster if you were reporting into a real web development team. And she went elsewhere. She moved on. She spread her wings, and we couldn't offer her more because she wanted to become a true developer. She didn't have an engineering background. It was like an English background, like literature background. I don't recall, but it was not technology. But she got to a point where she outgrew us in the sense of what her aspirations were, and we supported 100%. And we had to go and figure out what was best for us in our situation. But that's the kind of company we are. Like if there's better opportunities for you, I'll let you know, because I want to see our talent continue on and do great things elsewhere. I've told people I think they should be an entrepreneur. I thought the company wasn't for them. They needed to go out and start their own thing and see what it's like firsthand. So
here's the unexpected book plug. Then you would love this book.
Love it.
Workwake. This guy, Steve Cadigan.
Yeah.
He was LinkedIn's first CHRO. And what you just described is, the modern and future environment where it's not like, how do you get a gold watch and retire here and you're being disloyal because you're interested in something else. He actually makes the analogy of like college basketball and kind of the one and done phenomenon where you don't go in there for 5 years, red shirt your first year, et cetera. It's like, no, I'm going to the NBA next year. And so basically the recruiting philosophy is, how do I help you get to where you want to go better than anybody else?
That's right. That's absolutely right. And, 2-year stints is kind of normal. And then especially in the younger generation is like, it's, for me, it was 5-7 years. Generations before was lifetime. I just don't think we're in that world. And if you build your business with that expectation, you're going to always be let down. And then you're going to become not the best manager either if you're seeing that and you're not ready for it. So if you expect it and you build for it. Yeah.
And then the other thing is, watching your intern come back to you on another day and be a giant advocate for you guys to maybe come back and lead, work for Vlad on another day. Right.
So I have a quick story on that one too, a little anecdote. So we had a CX person, first job out of college, comes from Virginia Tech. I don't hold her against her because UM and Virginia Tech have a bit of a, but she was a customer experience person, first year out of school. We taught her. She was great. One of the favorites of our clients. She wanted to move in the product. I did not have a product team, let alone a product role yet. Vladimir was doing all the product and engineering. We're a small team. And so we couldn't offer what I think she needed. And she went and found a product role somewhere. She was there a year and a half. She came, and I'll give you a little more transparency. She didn't buy her stock options. She was probably not in a position to do it. She comes back. We hired her, and we gave her stock options back, and gave her a product position when it came time. We made it right because she was the right person for the job, and she's crushing it. So it's all about taking care of your people, right? And this is a great example where stars left. We couldn't offer. We stayed in touch. When we were time to have a product role, It was like, hey, are you interested? She came right back, and now she's hopefully happy. If she's listening, hope you're happy. I think she is. But no, yeah, it's keeping, like you said, you never know what's going to happen down the road, and you want to create great relationships and honest relationships.
It's playing the long game, and it's really building relationships for that person's career, not just while they're your employee, but for their career. So, these last couple stories, Devin, are exactly why I wanted to have you on, because this is what kind of shows people and really evidences this is a cool company you should know. I can go read a job description. I can go read all the marketing blather, but it's like, no, I'm hearing from the CEO, from the founder. These are real stories about exactly how we treat our people. And that's what I think, the modern employee is really looking for. It's like, no, I believe in that. I can get behind that. And that's why I want to go grow and share my talent, versus in a cubicle someplace and, not being quite as appreciated as an E5 on the corporate hierarchy. Yes. So you did such a great job today, Devin. Thank you for representing your company. And again, not just the technology and the data and what makes that cool, but what makes the company cool and why it's cool to work there. And so it's just great having you on. And I'm proud to have been able to learn more about your company myself.
Well, Bob, I'm glad you built this forum for us to do these things. So thank you so much for having me. It's been a blast.
So thank you, Joey, for flashing that up. So if people want to learn more about social standards and opportunities, best place to go, I assume, is the site.
Yep. Perfect place. There's a contact form if you want to contact us. And anyone who wants to reach out to me directly, feel free. It's literally my first name at socialstandards.com.
Yep. And LinkedIn connection's cool too. Yeah.
Yeah. Welcome them all.
Well, Devin, this is great. Thank you so much. If there's anything that we can do to continue to support you, we'd be happy to, but you've built a great team so far. I know it's only going to get better. Thank you, everybody who joined, and Nicole, Charlie, Tona, Jenna, everybody else. It's been great. And so with that, Devin, I'll let you get back to running a great company, and thank you again.
Thanks, Bob. Okay. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, everyone, for listening. Really appreciate it. Cheers.
Bye.
Okay.